Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and I want to go over some very interesting speculation and discussion. I really don't want to say it's a rumor because this is really just speculation at this point. However, the idea of PlayStation titles and exclusives being pushed back as far as them coming out on PC. Now, it's kind of funny to even speculate on this, given the fact that Death Stranding 2 is about to come out on PC. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls is literally coming out on PC day one alongside the PlayStation 5 version, but we are talking the single-player, first-party published PlayStation titles. And if you look at it, 2024 had one major first-party title be published on the PlayStation 5. That was Astro Bot. That has not been pushed out on PC yet. 2025 had Ghosts of Yote. That hasn't been published on PC yet, although it's still fairly early on. Death Stranding 2 will be coming out on PC. Of course, we had Stellar Blade, but if you look at some of the recent PC releases, they're either multiplayer-focused titles like, Concord, or they're like third-party published games. They're done by third parties. A lot of people will consider them second parties, and PlayStation published those games, but they're not an in-house first-party studio. Stellar Blade and the upcoming Death Stranding 2 PC port, and Jason Schreier and John Linneman both speculated on their podcast this week that Sony could be pulling away from PC ports. Now, again, it's speculation, but I can totally understand the angling of why you would come to this decision, and again, I don't like it. There's a difference between me liking something and me understanding something. I absolutely vehemently hate PlayStation's live service push, but I can understand how executives got into a board meeting and in a room and decided, oh, brother, Concord's gonna be huge. We gotta put a lot of money in this. It's obvious to see how that happens. Doesn't mean I have to like it. The same thing can be said for the PC releases continuing, and you might be saying, hey, didn't Sony make a good amount of money off their PC releases? Yeah, they did make a good amount of money. Bear in mind that a large portion of their money came from a live service game in Helldivers 2, and another portion of their revenue came from games on a delay early on. I do feel there is something to be said about the support of these PlayStation titles, a lot of those games, and how they're doing on PC. Stellar Blade did really well. Do I think Death Stranding 2 is gonna do really well? I don't. Do I think Marvel Tokon is gonna do really well? I don't. Do I think, or I can look back, Spider-Man 2 didn't do really well. Last of Us Part 2 did okay. Spider-Man 2, to be fair, worst PC port of all time, arguably, so obviously I'll put that aside, but the best performing PC ports were of that 2022 era, and Ghost of Tsushima. Take nothing away from Ghost of Tsushima, that was long awaited, but even then, guys, that is a drop in the bucket to the overall PlayStation revenue, and I can see the argument being made that right now, the imperative is to increase the value of the PlayStation console. Yes, we can take a little bit of an L on the PC revenue that we're getting, but we need to increase our proposition, our value proposition on the PS5 and what that's going to be. That isn't a direct quantifiable metric like how much money they've made on PC. However, it is something that matters, and I think those unquantifiable metrics do matter quite a lot. I think keeping your consumer goodwill matters a lot, especially in an era where PlayStation has nuked a lot of that. The reality is, and I'll say it over and over again, PlayStation has no real competition because Xbox is pretty much out of the game. However, what I would argue is that the PC market nowadays is its closest competition. And what do I mean by that? PC has one inherent flaw, and that is the barrier of entry. The initial price point is expensive, but guess what? There are a lot of people that have jobs with disposable income that are playing on PlayStation that they could financially make the move to PC if they wanted. You need to keep those people. There's value in keeping those people as well. And how do you keep those people? Well, you have games at the level of a Wolverine, at the level of a Soros, at the level of a Ghost of Yote, at the level of God of War, those being exclusives on PlayStation. That collective entity, I do think values a lot. The collective of all of those games. A lot of the times with PlayStation, it's not a single game, but it's that collection that is the cherry on top for people valuing the PlayStation ecosystem. And yeah, that is more so the hardcores, but I do think Sony has had an issue with pushing away the hardcores quite a bit over the last few years. You look at social media platforms, and yes, this is a very, very big echo chamber at times, but I do think there is an issue right now of the optics of PlayStation not being as great as it was in the PS4 era. And yes, you could say the optics of Xbox are bad. No one cares about Xbox right now. Like, if the barometer is Xbox is your comparison, that's not any way to grow, because that's a failing barometer. You want to set the expectations high. Look at how much goodwill Steam has with their audience. You want that level of goodwill. Maybe that's an unattainable level, but you want something to that effect. And I do think with the core PlayStation audience, it's a collective of the live service games push, and then also games coming out on PC. I could see a hardcore PlayStation guy be like, dude, what is the value in my PS5 right now? I have to pay to play online. The exclusives, even if they're not day one, most of them end up on PC, and now Sony's just pushing these live service games. What is the value of PlayStation 5? Really, the value of PlayStation 5 right now to me is the fact that it's a box that you buy and it works right out the gate. You don't have to build a PC. PC has some hurdles here and there, and buying a pre-built computer, like I said, is expensive, and I get it. You're gonna have your $500 console killer PCs and everything like that. Look, some people just want to walk into a store and buy their console for $500, $550. Now, if you quantify all of the other money that you're gonna spend, PlayStation Plus, more expensive games, which is absolute reality, and everything like that, yeah, you can easily make the argument that PC in the long run will be a cheaper option, but most people aren't gonna look at it from that lens of, oh, I'm gonna save money in the long run. Most people are just gonna be like, okay, I walk into a store, I get my PS5, I get my NBA, and I move on. And really, I do think that's one of the biggest value propositions of the PS5, is that you walk into a store, you buy your PS5, you buy NBA, you're good to go. Most people are not gonna go into a store, buy a pre-built gaming computer, and then buy NBA. And I bring up NBA because it's one of the biggest games in the world. I hate to say it, but that is the reality, and PlayStation thrives on that market, but there's also a market of these hardcore consumers you want to satisfy, and you want to keep their attention, you want to keep them locked in, and I do think dropping your games on PC at the very least hurts the optics of that. Since those games have started dropping on PC, you definitely hear people being like, yo, PlayStation 5 has no games. How often do you see that? That is a far cry from the PlayStation 4 era, where it seemed like there were so many games that were arriving on PlayStation 4 at a top level that were of high quality, and a lot of them were even third-party games that just were ending up as exclusive, like Persona 5, Yakuza 0, and games like that that have ended up on PC as well. You couple that with the PlayStation titles also being on PC, I do think there's an argument to be made that it hurts the value proposition of PlayStation. And obviously, from a selfish standpoint, I want these games available on as many platforms as possible. I want them available on PS5, PC, Xbox, Nintendo Switch 2. However, in terms of creating a value proposition that makes people want to buy a PlayStation, I think it's more important than ever for them to increase that value proposition, and I can see why that argument is being made. Again, it doesn't mean I have to like it. I don't like it, but I can see why a decision like that would be made. I'll leave a post where there's a transcript on Reddit, on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, and again, it is just speculation. We'll see. Will Wolverine come out on PC? I think that's going to be a big one. I think Soros is a huge one, because I think Soros is a game that the PC audience would absolutely flock to if it was a day one title, but it's a PS5 game, and I'm not saying Soros is going to sell a lot of PlayStation 5s, but it adds to the value proposition. Wolverine absolutely will push PS5s, and the fact is, they've got GTA 6 as a pseudo exclusive this year as well. I think the fact that GTA 6 is gonna be on PlayStation 5 and not on PC is a bigger W at this stage of the game for PlayStation than GTA 6 being on Xbox, because nobody gives a flying F about Xbox at this point. The closest competitor that you have is that PC audience, because it's going to take away the audience from you that does have that disposable income that can get into PC gaming. And then, again, you can make the argument they'll save money in the long run, etc., etc., but I do think, again, there's that argument to be made about PlayStation doing what they can to increase the value proposition of their PlayStation 5 console, and you know, if that means Wolverine, if that means Intergalactic, if that means Santa Monica's next title doesn't end up on PC, I'm curious, how does that resonate with you guys? Is GTA 6 Wolverine, like, again, look at this year. GTA 6 and Wolverine as a 1-2 punch being PlayStation 5 only titles, that's a big deal, and I think that's gonna push a lot of PlayStation 5s. You know, and I know my audience here is more of the PC guys, but I am curious about that. Ultimately, I think these days people value the platform that they're on more so than whatever games are available, as long as there are enough quality games, and I think on PC you're gonna get that anyway, but there are games at the level of Wolverine and GTA 6 that I think will make people absolutely do a bit of a double take. Less so Soros, I wouldn't put Soros at that level, but I do think on top of GTA 6 and Wolverine, Soros is a nice cherry on top for sure, where people are like, huh, those are some games I would like to play, and then you add in Yote, Astrobot. Look, those are, like, that's a pretty big string of games that PlayStation 5 is going to have at their disposal that's not going to be on PC, at least. Who knows in the case of Yote and Astrobot, but definitely for Wolverine and GTA 6 in the near future. But interested to hear your guys' input. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know, because I am curious to hear what you guys think. And again, very curious. Anybody picking up a PlayStation 5 or digging the PS5 out of the closet for GTA 6 and Wolverine? Those are both probably coming out in the span of 2 months if GTA 6 doesn't end up getting delayed. Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.